Well, welcome everyone live, and welcome to those of you watching the recording. This is one of our beautiful evening webinars. I mean, we kind of do webinars any time of the day, but most of them seem to end in the evenings or end up in the evenings. And today we have the lovely Dr. Marcia Haggerty to chat about the unconscious brain, models that we use to support people moving through things, and also when we feel like we're stuck, how to get unstuck. And she'll talk a little bit more about that. But, both Marcia and I have been with Growth U for, boy, we're coming up on 8 years. And as well as both being healthcare professionals, which is, I think, why when we first met, we just immediately loved one another. We love the process of growth, and we love to support people in using the models that we have at Growth U that are so powerful to assist right away in helping you to move through whatever you're moving through, and also to get the results that you want, and to feel more empowered in your life, to feel like you can change the way you feel about pretty much anything. And so besides, of course, working with Growth U, Marcia works in Alaska, helping to catch babies and support people in a small community. She flies in and out. And then right now she's at her home close to Seattle, Washington, where she lives with her beautiful family. Her husband, Lonnie, also works with us as an advisor, and her daughter, Kimmy, I think will take over the company one day. So So Marcia, before I chat a little bit about the unconscious brain, which is what we're all seeking to shift when we do the work that we do at Growth U, what do you want to say to people as we're moving into this season of spring and summer and potentially big shifts for people? What do you want to remind them of as we talk about what we're going to talk about today?
You mentioned the unconscious brain. I'm actually looking forward to talking a little bit about the conscious brain. The mental mind, if you think about mental and emotional and physical and energetic, the conscious brain is what we can really, it's how we tell ourselves stories. It's how we can change our stories. And like you said, how we can get unstuck, or if we're in the flow, we can continue being creative. So in thinking about, I love to think about big things, and what we're talking about today can really be used for every single day, activating your day, moving through your day, and creating time for pause, as well as creating productivity and efficiency and that joy of getting things done. I'll pause there to see if you wanted me to share story or talk about mental mind more, or see what you were going to do.
I do want you to, and let's put a little pin in that. And
Mhm.
I want to remind people. So what Marcia just described about the mental mind is something else that the mental mind does is we create,
Mhm.
right? So that mental mind, our conscious brain, is a beautiful creator. We create all sorts of stories about our experience as we move through the world. It's all about perception, right? So what we perceive, we are creating the meaning behind that. And so when we do it intentionally, what Marcia's going to talk about in a minute, we can start to shift unconscious patterns. So this beautiful, my husband Paul uses this model all the time, our beautiful brain that has close to 100 billion neurons and is constantly learning and growing throughout our life. Most of it is unconscious, meaning everything that's happening is below our conscious control. Our heart and our lungs and our internal organs are all working because our brain and our nervous system are supporting all of those processes. And all of the things that we do unconsciously, like brush our teeth in the morning or drive our car to work, or get the clothes out that we always get out and wear on certain days, or what we decide to eat in the morning, most of those decisions we make, we have created habits around over our lifetime. Most of the habits that we've created around what we believe about what we can do, what we believe our families can do, what we believe about our capability, our ability to change, all of those have been conditioned over our lifetime. And most of those habits and patterns we have been conditioned really before the age of 9. So when we intentionally look at what we are wanting in our lives, who we want to be in our lives, and if we are not who we want to be, or if we're not getting the results we want, we're not doing the things we want, we've learned through the process that we use at Growth U, and frankly, making goals and visions is not new. What we have likely added, to the spicy mix is that we have these beautiful models to explain the process of making a vision, making a purpose behind that vision. So why do we want to change? And then shifting the identity in that area to something else that will serve who we want to become and what we want to have more intentionally. And in the process, we've all discovered that we learn to love ourselves more in the process. So we want to really encourage you that that unconscious brain will resist you when you try to change something. And we all know this, we make a New Year's resolution and we feel like, yes, I can do it and I have no problems and I'm going to go to the gym and, I'm not really excited about it. And then about 10 days in, my brain starts making all sorts of excuses why not to go. And when we make excuses and justifications, we celebrate here because we know our unconscious brain is resisting and feeling threatened by this new thing we're trying to bring into our lives. So, Marcia, I know you have a beautiful story about using the mental mind to create something new. And we want to welcome Kavita. Welcome live. We've got Laura and Lonnie. So please feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat as Marcia and I are chatting.
Thank you. There's a few stories swirling around in my mind, and the one that I'll share first is a story of already being in the flow and then making a new decision to go in a fresh direction. And so in high school, I wanted to be a wildlife biologist. And then the boy that I had just been dating had been in an accident, so he was in a coma for 7 months. That was decades ago. So in this moment, now in this part of life, I can see that as something that really formed everything that I switched into in that moment. I was just about to start college, and I was already in the mode of just doing, testing, studying, all the stuff you need to do for school. And then over the next few years, to really try to sort out with that experience, there was this purpose that grew in me, the purpose was the curiosity about why doctors didn't seem to understand what the prognosis would be or what exactly the path would be, or if he would live or not live or be able to think or not think. And it was very painful, but it was fascinating. The further I got away from it, the more fascinating it was as it evolved. And I got to use the mental mind, which is your focus, which is the vision, the identity, the purpose, which is the story you tell yourself, or going into the past and rewriting or altering stories to create meaning. So there was this purpose, this curiosity of wanting to do forever learning. There was an identity that I already had of just at that time in life, just going and testing, and doing whatever I needed to get to what I wanted. And actually, the first couple of years, I didn't get into medical school. So there was also a rewriting of vision. It made me chuckle a little when you were introducing me, saying the flying in part, because the vision that I had, I sat down with a professional and she had me write a vision. Okay, you already know you want to do this. This is your identity. People keep telling you to choose a different path. And I knew this was something I wanted to do. So the vision I wrote down on paper with her that day was flying into jungle forests and meeting groups of people and getting to experience how they lived and somehow providing healing or medicine and learning from their healing techniques as well. So I'm not in a warm jungle. I fly into the frozen tundra. And it's very similar to the vision that was put on that paper. So that was my mental mind saying, okay, You didn't get what you wanted, but your purpose is so strong, it's fueling you. Your identity is still moving forward. And so here's a vision. And then it pulled it in that year and it worked. And that felt very powerful. And I can keep going and sharing stories. And I'd like to throw it back to you to see what else you're going to
Well,
say.
so I have a question about like the longing, right? We often talk about that thing that we're really longing to do. And when we focus on it, often opportunities to do that thing will come into our awareness, right? One of our laws is the law of focus, right? What we focus on, we find, what we focus on grows, what we focus on seems real, and ultimately what we focus on, we become. So I feel like when that longing happens and it's like our antenna goes up, and we hook into that the flow of energy that brings those things into our awareness. What was it for you, that when you really harnessed your focus, you wrote it down on paper, what what was the longing that kept you going?
Well, the first longing was really simply and still is deep curiosity. There's so much more to learn. And the more you learn, the more windows it opens up to more learning, of course. And then the next, so that was really the longing that pulled me through. My father said, my father, who was the one that believed in me the most, said, "Oh, I don't want you to get hurt. You've been rejected 2 years in a row. Different careers?" And I said, "No, this is just a part-time job. Applying for medical school, just a part-time job. Eventually it will switch." And then the longing, when I created a vision, I guess, then I could feel the juiciness of it. The mental mind had created, or the conscious mind had created this image and this picture of further adventure. I guess when you talk about the emotional needs, there's variety and there's growth, and then there's connection to learning about how other groups of people do things. So the longing is created by whatever we put into that picture, I suppose. Whatever we get to put into that vision and whatever story we tell ourselves, we'll get to experience along the way, the learning. And when we get there, which will open up to more of whatever.
Mm, yeah. And I feel like for most of us, this longing is our purpose, trying to be, put into action, right? I truly believe that every single person that's born here on this planet is born with some purpose, right? There's some innate gifts that are unique to each and every one of us that play out as we choose these different things to do in our lives. And when you look back, you're like, oh, every single thing I did has led me here to fulfilling what I truly believe is my purpose. And I know, both of us, part of our purpose is supporting people and healing on a healing journey, easing pain. And with these tools, it's really another kind of a branch of that, right? So when you talk about the long, really listening to that longing and being creative, we talk about the mental mind. So can you tell us a little bit more? Because, one of the models that Rod has and the team have produced over the years, and is the four minds. So we've got. Do you have a picture of that one?
I
Can you
do.
show it?
Yes,
We're
I
not
do.
going to talk about all of them because we'd be here all evening. And I think it's a nice one to see. Yeah.
You're able to see it? Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
And you mentioned purpose. My purpose seems to evolve. I used to say elevating the frequency around me or elevating frequency of the universe. And as you speak, I realize the words that have come up for me a lot in the past several years are mutual influence. So although my purpose, yes, easing pain, sharing something I've learned, although every time I say it, I always end up saying and learning something from someone else too. I feel like this purpose has evolved for me into mutual influence. Now, are you just seeing the four minds or are you seeing everything on my screen?
No, I'm just seeing the four minds. So you talked about the mental.
Yes. So part of this is this fun course, the Activate 30 days to productive mindset. This is the basis. Plus, there are several other juicy models that come after it. And I love this model. The mental, like we're already talking about, which is everything conscious, when you're gently training your unconscious to create an identity by focusing with a vision and creating your identity and having a purpose to fuel you through. And then the emotional, and all of these minds, we must nourish these minds for them to serve us. So the emotional, we'll talk about this more in the course, the Activate course. Of course, the emotional is one of the most powerful minds, is the way that it's taught. And really the mental focus, the mental vision, the mental identity, and the creating the meanings can use that emotional force, that emotional power to fuel it through. As long as we're aware, sometimes we let our emotions pull us into eating too much, or having arguments, or uh, whatever you're thinking might feel the best in the moment, whether it serves you or not. Unless we really create those stories for ourselves and let the emotion be the fuel, that emotion can sometimes get us stuck. Or the physical brain, fueling ourselves with nutrition and exercise as nourishment, and then the energetic brain, fueling ourselves with whatever fuels that piece of us, depending on our beliefs, whether it be prayer, meditation, music, peaceful time. So this is the part that I love the most about the Activate program, and really looking forward to it.
Hmm.
Actually, I'll get to do 1 week on this course, on this model, and Lonnie will also take one of the calls on this model. I
Cool.
also wanted to just mention, I talked about a purpose, and I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to stop share with getting into medical school as something that fueled me as a creative process. Activate, the program that's coming up, really what it helps me with getting unstuck from things, like you say. And what I've used it for in the past, many things, including just getting through the day and thriving through a day. And when I've allowed myself to get into a lot of credit card debt, this is the type of thing that really helps motivate me to move through it, instead of sort of wallowing in that emotion of, oh my gosh, what happened? How did I get myself here? I can think of a specific year when I was really focusing on, what do we do? We got to this point where and then the tragedy hit, they just like, what do we do? And it's that recreating the story, using that mental mind, focusing, recreating meaning, that, wow, this credit card paid for that fabulous retreat, or this incredible experience, or this investment that, although it hasn't financially paid back in dollars, has given all of this to our lives and allowed us to still be alive. So I would play music uh, to start creating bliss anchors and write visions on my budget sheet that I would do, and the thousands of dollars started knocking off. So that's another way to use Activate and the
Mm, I love that. And so, we mentioned Activate. We're going to be starting an advisor-led instance of that program, which Marcia mentioned she and her husband Lonnie are going to be leading starting June 10th. So anybody watching this webinar, or watching the replay, we'll put a code in, that will get you $50 off that program. And we'll also send you all of the info about how you could get started if you want to learn more. And we really think you should, because, when we learn more about how we meet the needs of all these different minds in our brain, now we're being intentional, instead of, as what Marcia said, like being driven around by the emotions. So instead of our emotions driving us, we're meeting our emotional needs and using that as fuel to support our visions and who we want to become next. So that shift in feeding emotions intentionally is a big game changer for pretty much everybody that I've seen come through programs. So if you want to get in the driver's seat with your emotions, you need to take this course with us. Now, know that you can take courses anytime, in GU. You can sign up and you can do it individually. It's all private and supported by an advisor. And Marcia, tell us the magic sauce of an advisor-led instance where we have multiple people taking it all at once, and we have a team call once a week, which will be Tuesday evenings.
Well, community Community, accountability, if you choose it. Community is the strongest piece, right? There's three things that help us recreate our identity or our beliefs, and that's habitual conditioning. So you get that just simply with the online program. Significant emotional events, which you can choose to create in your mind if you change the meaning of a past emotional event, and you can go to a fabulous retreat or something simply happens. It just hits you over the head, and woo, you've got something changing for the better or for the worse. And then community, being around others that really enjoy processing through how to grow and uplift our lives. And others will be moving through similar processes. I'll be completely honest. I am choosing to grow a new superpower, and I'm using this program to do it. I've never sold a house in my life, and our little house in Alaska has uh, it's come time that the storms and the weather just have done something to it. And I'm getting to learn all the ins and the outs of selling a house out in the bush where there are no roads there, and even the appraiser would have to fly in. So I will be in this with you. Community is here.
Amazing. Amazing. So we really want you to join us. And before we go, I would love to ask our people that are watching if you can put in the comments just one thing that you do that helps to meet your emotional needs proactively. So Marcia mentioned meditation, prayer, right? Those are things that often help to meet our emotional need of certainty. And I think also our emotional needs of self-esteem too. I think both prayer and meditation do that. What are some things that you do to meet your other emotional needs? So I'd love for you that are watching live to pop anything in the comments. Marcia, is there one more thing that you do to meet your emotional needs?
Obvious every time I'm on a call, if it's not pouring or blizzarding, I just love hearing the wind and feeling it on my face and smelling the flowers and anything that nature has to give me if my computer can take it, simply being outside.
Being outside, I know, me too. Yeah, we have that in common. Marcia and I, when we first met, we were at a retreat in Austin, and we had this beautiful moonlit walk that I still remember to this day. It was a full moon, and I think we could have stayed out under that moon all night, just basking in the beautifulness that it was. So Lonnie said, yeah, investing in others without expectation of return as a form of warmth and connection. Yeah, so when we support others, getting what we want, that really helps to meet our emotional need of connection, but also our emotional need of importance, right? That we're here to help people and to help others to support them in whatever they're trying to achieve. Yeah, I love that. Oh, and Christiane just popped on. Hello. And as we wind down, anything else that you want to mention about Activate as we look ahead to starting that June 10th?
I love getting to, whenever I start reading about the four minds, I get excited. And I also love how it helps me in every day. So as we go through the different models, simply preparing a vision for the day and a purpose for the day. And I don't ever check all my things off my little list, although I always check some of them off and their dopamine hits. And then there's always time created for peace or for walking. And that also feels like a success.
I love that. Well, Marcia absolutely is one of our top advisors, as is her husband Lonnie. So uh, come and join us June 10th, and you'll be able to ask them questions live and talk about the things that you're wanting to shift and change in your life and learn from everybody else that's going to be taking the program. So we really want you to join us. And we know that you've taken away a few ideas to start shifting right now. So we hope that you have an amazing rest of this evening, this week, and we hope to see you June 10th. Anything else, Marcia, before we finish?
I suppose for clarity, you said Tuesday evenings. The calls will be hosted Tuesday evenings at 5:30 Pacific,
Yep.
8:30 Eastern.
Yes, exactly. And then, as we said, your program, you're in it, and you can You can do that any time of day, and it's private and confidential, and you get to journal and reflect and grow. So love y'all. Thank you so much for joining. Uh, thank you for those of you watching on replay, and we will see you in a program or in another webinar soon. Bye, everyone. Good night.